Welcome to the Besties in the Books podcast. I'm Liz.
And I'm Ashley. And you guys, we're so happy to be talking to you right now. We took a little break, a little vacay during the holiday days. And I hope you guys missed us because we missed you too.
Yes, it was our hibernation time.
Yes.
We took a little bit of time to crawl.
We ate a lot
of
food. We slept. And we just were little bear selves.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, sort of.
Kind of.
We're like, we wish, but not really.
Yeah,
kind of.
We tried. We tried our best. So this episode, you guys, we are going to be doing a follow-up to our author interview episode. In case you missed it, we had the the grandest of all, pleasure to interview Ember Nicole on her recent release of Live for Me, which is the third book in her Broken Bounty series. So the interview...
Got them all up here.
Yeah, you got them right there.
My collection. Hold on. Oh, they're heavy. Okay. So Live for Me, this is what it looks like.
Beautiful.
It's so pretty.
I did some makeup inspiration for it, so I got some like red. It's like flamey looking on my eyeshadow.
Nice.
Not that you can all see it. Well, you could see it if you go to YouTube, but I don't know if you could see it. Still
also
far
matches
away.
your hair. There's that.
Yeah, there we go. I like to vibe with the covers and themes of things.
I mean,
so.
I wore a sweatshirt that says "Good Girls Love Smut," so that kind of goes with the theme.
Oh, totally.
You know,
we're vibing. We're vibing over here. Okay. And so just so you know, though, if you haven't read these books yet and you want to hear some information about them, that interview is completely spoiler free. We're talking a little bit more about the third book in that one, which in this video we'll be talking about all three. A little more focus on the third, but we'll talk about all three as well. And we'll link that below, so you can check that out if you want to take a pause on this, save it to your playlist, listen to it later, or you can listen to it now, and the first 15 minutes will be spoiler free, as usual. So we'll be covering all the Broken Bounty series, focus on book 3. It's great. It's been released. Paperback and Kindle available now.
Go get it. Go read it.
Yeah. Go get it. Go read it. If you've already read it, come see what we have to say about it officially. It's our official reviews, thoughts, breakdowns, opinions, mental breakdowns, all that stuff.
Mental breakdowns. Yeah. I mean, the reason why we're formatting this episode the way we are is because really, okay, so there's 3 books. So books 1 and 2, Break for Me and Survive for Me. Ooh, I'm hitting my microphone. These 2 guys here, they are, I don't want to say it's like sets of duologies because they're really not. Like, you do need to read books 1 and 2 before you get into book 3.
Yeah.
However, they focus on different couples and they have a very different tone. And so, you know, although we're celebrating the release of Live for Me, book 3, and that's what our interview is primarily discussing with Ember Nicole, we wanted to make sure to really decipher and talk about them a little bit separately in this episode so that you guys kind of know what to expect and what you're getting into moving forward. They're very different, but I think that, you know, they both bring really amazing themes to the table, really great characters that you get really super invested in. And so, yeah, I can't wait to talk about them with you guys. And I think Ashley already said it, but first 15 minutes will still be spoiler free. So we'll give you guys our reviews and let you know kind of what our initial thoughts are if you're thinking about going down the Broken Bounty series, bounty hunter romance rabbit hole.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But before we get into that, we just want to say thank you for being here.
You guys, thank you so much for being here. Happy New Year. Happy 2025. Let's do this. All right. And while you're here, while we have you, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe anywhere you like to listen to your favorite podcast, including YouTube. We're Besties in the Books podcast everywhere, TikTok, Instagram. And then you can join our Fable book club if you'd like. If you just search Besties and the Book Club. This month, we are doing our first Brandon Sanderson book. You guys know what I'm saying. Wow, that is hard to say. Brandon Sanderson. I don't know if I've ever said that out loud. You know, like, because we're such readers, and if you're not listening to audio, as soon as the first time you say a name out loud, it doesn't fall off your tongue as easy as it does in your brain. No. Brandon Sanderson, as in a Sanderson sister. Sanderson sister number 4, Mr. Brandon. We are reading Mistborn.
The sequel Yeah, it's this.
Well,
I
I
can't
haven't read
even
the
right
first
now.
one. I'm so confused.
Well, because you said it's Hocus Pocus 3. No, I'm just
Oh
kidding.
yeah, Hocus Pocus 3, Mistborn. Everybody knows it in the book community. Brandon Sanderson, sister number 4.
We have to Photoshop him in like as the 4th Sanderson sister now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Well, that just went to a weird place. But anyways,
That's what we're reading. Come join us. We're very professional.
I have no idea what it's about literally at all.
No.
Nothing. None.
It's our first deep dive into him, and so hopefully it continues. We'll see.
Yeah,
Everybody
I
says
know.
to start with this one, right? There's
Yeah.
like 25, so.
What is it? The Cosmere? I think that's what it's called. We'll be entering the Cosmere.
Don't even know what you're saying. So, great.
I think that's like the world. So it'd be like, you know, like...
Midgard and
yeah.
such and such.
Such and such.
Yes.
Yes, of course. So anyways,
Earth.
I don't know how we got on that.
It's like Earth.
Cosmere.
We don't like to talk
Earth,
about that place.
Midgard. Those are the 3 places that you can go. What's happening right now? Okay. So anyways, yeah, join us over at Besties in the Book Club if you want some more of that. I think quite a few people are really interested in reading that this month, so I'm pretty excited about that.
I think it's been on a lot of our lists, and we've been scared to dive into it because we feel like we won't be able to stop, but we need to do it. So, you know, hey,
It's true.
it's good.
So
Okay.
should we just get into our Fave and Fail holiday edition?
That's what we're gonna do. So let's do it. Why don't you kick us off there, Liz?
All right. So I have a few faves. I'm like
You only
trying to
get
think.
one. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, I was like, did I even put a fail on here? I did. Okay, good. Because I feel like you know, the Christmas New Year holiday was pretty chill actually for me this time.
Good.
So that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I put 3 things. Because one's a follow up. So the matching Christmas shirts, my husband did in fact get us those.
Aw, cute.
Yeah, so just in case any of you guys were, you know, like on the edge of your seat wondering how that was going to play out. He did, in fact, get us matching Christmas shirts. It's amazing. It's my new favorite thing. So we wore those. So that was definitely a fave.
Adorbs.
My husband did chop us down a Christmas tree.
10 out
That
of
was
10.
my other fave. 10 out of 10. Recommend. Kanan the Lumberjack, one of my favorites for sure. And then my other fave, which I wanted to talk about, is that, you know, holidays, I feel like my brain can just be like so all over the place. Because even if it's chill, it's like you're still thinking like, oh, I got to be here. These people, you know, are coming into town. Or I got to remember to cook this and bring it here or do that, whatever. It's like, I feel kind of like scatterbrain chicken with my head cut off kind of thing. you
Yeah,
know?
for sure.
So I'm like, I kind of have a hard time focusing on like a hefty book. Although I will say I did finish The Songbird and the Heart of Stone, and that was a 5-star read. So just shout out
Nice.
to Carissa Broadbent for that one. Anyways, but I was like, you know, I just want to read some short little Christmas novellas. We read that one, Hunted in Holly, and I was like, there's gotta be more out there that are really good. And I found quite a few that were really good. And I would
Nice.
just like blow through them. Like I just sit down and my husband would be watching football and I would just like read one a night or whatever.
Nice.
So I wanted to give a shout out to my favorites. So I have my top 3 that were all 5 stars, and then I have one that's a notable mention 4-star because we've read other things by her. So my 4-star notable mention is A Very Stalker Christmas by Layla Faye.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. So if you guys have been
Nice.
following along, she wrote Mr. Jingle, that little treasure that we talked about before. She obviously wrote, why am I blanking on it? The Thanksgiving book.
Full sack.
Full Sack, yes. That one will go down in history for sure.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a sweet little, like, it was very different from the other books, I feel like, that she's written. It was like imagine you're like a single lady, but you're like real busy with your career, and all of a sudden you're starting to notice that like your driveway is like shoveled every morning and your car always has gas in it. And then you start noticing, oh, my house is just like really clean and there's always like a new scented candle and sometimes little treats. And because you're just so optimistic, you think it must just be someone doing goodwill for you. But really, it's your crazy like stalker neighbor who's obsessed with you. So it was like dark, but not really. It was more like just, I don't know, a fun holiday time. So
Yeah.
And that's like no spoilers. I mean, it's literally called A Very Stalker Christmas, and it has binoculars on the cover. So, so
if you can't use context clues, it's not my fault.
It's not my fault. Like, I can only help you so far. Okay. So then the other shout outs I wanted to give were for a book by Cleo Evans called The Perfect Gift. So I want to make sure that I get these all right. So that one is a wild time. That's like husband and wife off in a like Christmas cabin that they rented because they both have really busy jobs. She's like a lawyer, he's a doctor, whatever. And then what do we see out the window? Ooh, 2 hot lumberjacks. Why don't we invite them in? And then things happen.
Yeah. There you go.
So that one was crazy. It was just a crazy, fun, like wild time. That was a 5-star for me because the spice was
Nice.
5-star spice. Yep.
Spice was spicing.
The spice was spicing. So then my other 5-star, this one was like how do I even describe it? So it's called Dance Sugar Plum by Aurelia Knight and Amy Oliveira, I think. Oliveira. I don't know if I'm saying her name wrong. But yeah, Oliveira. I don't know. So it's a dark romance, like Nutcracker retelling.
Ooh.
It was excellent. It was almost kind of like, it had like mafia vibes to me.
Oh, yeah.
Like low-key mafia vibes, though. Like, not, like, too over the top, but it was like she was a dancer on the down and out, and, like, you know, she's got, like, the evil stepfather, and, like, then, you know, the guy swoops in, whatever. But, yeah, it was dark, but it was really, really good.
Nice.
I'd say, like, with everything, check the trigger warnings, but I don't feel like there was anything in this particular book, for the most part, if you knew what you were getting into going into it, that would bother you. So,
yeah.
Definitely recommend that one. And then the last one that I gave 5 stars to, that I just have to tell you guys, like, literally proceed with caution. This is not me necessarily saying everyone should go read this book, but it's really good if you go into it thinking it's horror thriller with Christmas vibes.
Okay.
Maybe not dark romance as I thought it was. I read the trigger warning, so I was like, oh, this is going to get crazy. So just make sure to do that.
Yeah.
But I feel like I enjoyed it a lot more when I was kind of like looking through like the horror lens when I was reading it. And it's called Whiteout by Gracie Williams.
Yeah.
And it's basically like you envision the darkest version of a Santa Claus you can possibly imagine. And that's what it's about. It's about like a woman who has heard this like legend, like basically an urban legend, kind of like a Christmassy, like evil, almost kind of like a Krampus, like urban legend. And so she goes to this small town to like investigate it for her podcast, and then crazy stuff happens.
Whoa.
So yeah, I enjoyed it very much. Like, it was definitely 5-star for me, but it was crazy and it had an insane ending. So just so you know. So anyways, I wanted to make sure to give them all shout outs because they were all excellent, and that was definitely my fave.
Nice. What a fun time.
It was a really fun time.
Nice.
Yeah. I was like thoroughly enjoying it. I'm almost like I'm missing it. Like, I just want to pretend like it's still Christmas and just sit there and like read one of those every. I guess I could do that, you know, but it's like not quite the same.
Yeah. Well, and on all the books that I bring, and I read one page, you know?
Yeah.
And then I fell asleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so sad.
That's the challenge.
I'm very
not
happy
falling
for you.
asleep.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't fall asleep reading Whiteout, that's for sure. because it would haunt your dreams if you did.
Yeah.
What
is your fail?
My fail is just not taking more time off. I was like trying to be responsible and like not take too much time off work. And so I only took kind of like, because it was like that weird in the middle of the week to the weird in the middle of the week.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And I like went back to work literally on the 2nd of January. And like,
you weren't ready.
I was not ready. Like mentally, I wasn't ready. Physically, I was not ready. Like nothing about me was ready for that.
Yeah, the way we need to like recover for a few days after the dust settles is legit. Like,
yeah, the older I get, the more I'm like, you take a trip, you need like 3 days when you get back. You do anything that requires you to socialize. Literally, like there's, I think 2 people, maybe 3 on this planet I could socialize with and not have to recover afterwards. It's like you, 100%. My sister, and Rescinda, and that's it. And my husband, obviously, but he doesn't really count like that. But like, anyone else, and I'm like, we hung out, great. I need 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I had a migraine all weekend from being just exhausted. Just like, done. Oh, so tired.
So what about you? What was your fave and fail of the holidays?
Speaking of migraines, that's my fail is I overdid it on Christmas, for Christmas preparations. So I think I talked about on our Christmas special episode how like most of the time we go to my parents' house for Christmas, but then every once in a while, and now it's going to turn into that. It's kind of going to be our new tradition every other year going to their house, and then the alternate year staying home through the morning so we could have Christmas morning here. That way I get to have a real tree because we all love a tree in our house anyways. And, I'm trying not to take away the girls being able to wake up Christmas morning at their house too. They love their Nana's house though, so, it's whatever. But my sister, who's married with a young baby, is doing every other year. So I figured we'll just follow that tradition, So we stayed home this year for like, that might have been the first time since having 2 kids. And so I'm doing all the magic on my own pretty much. And it is hard work, which I already knew, but it's like, I really took on too much. So especially because my older daughter has musical theater, and the way that it fell this year, it was Friday to Sunday, and then the 23rd was on Monday, and then Christmas Eve was the next day. So it was just too much. We had a crazy busy weekend, and those, obviously I have family coming into town to watch her performance, and it's just like go, 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 go. And it was just nuts. And half of our family does Hanukkah, so we were doing that, and it was just nonstop. And then on the 23rd, like, we're making cookies, we're doing all the things, we're having all the fun. I stay up till 12:30 wrapping all the presents because I do not want to do it the next day. And I think that really like killed my back, but I didn't know it yet. And then on the 24th, I stupidly made my lasagna from scratch because I got a new pasta maker for Mother's Day and I hadn't used it yet. That was like super fun. I liked that part. But the whole day was super stressful. So... And I had already done the presents, but I'm just in the kitchen. Everybody's making cookies. It's just chaos. So probably stayed up too late that night too. And then so the next morning I woke up with a migraine. And as Liz knows now, if I do a 2-day in a row at least, I'm done. So I had the worst migraine. So that was my fail, is that I needed to just say, F the lasagna. I had a frozen one in the freezer. And I should have just done that.
You even had a backup.
I had a backup just because, like, I happen to have one in there already. So it's like, I need to look to my inner self and say, is it that important? Because that was all on me. I was like, I want to make this lasagna from scratch. I need to do it because I like to do it when we're home for Christmas and I want to use my new pasta maker. But I should have just said, calm your tits, okay? This is a 4-hour endeavor. Chill out. You put it away, get the frozen one out, put it in the oven, bada bing, bada boom. Everyone would have had a great time still. Yeah. And I would say everybody, it's just the 4 of us, So, but Mom would have been less stressed. So I woke up the next morning with a migraine. And then, of course, then Christmas is like a blur. But and that was so hard because then we literally packed after everybody's done opening presents. And then I got there, but I gotta say, shout out to my mom. She saw that I was struggling. Like, I was on the verge of going to bed, or like even for an hour. And the whole family comes over Christmas night, as I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. And I just went and I'm like, I'm just sitting on the couch. I never sit down. Like, I made whatever I was making to contribute, and then I sat down. And she came over with vapor rub and like a heating pad or something, and she's like, let me see your neck. I can see your like I'm tensing everywhere. And she just worked on my upper back for like 5 minutes, especially around my neck. Aww. The way it gave me such an energy boost. That was like the equivalent to an hour nap. Something about like being taken care of too.
Yeah.
And somebody else doing it for you. And my migraine was gone within a couple hours. So I think it wasn't even, it might have been the tiredness, but I think it's because when I was up rapping on the floor until 12:30 in the morning, for those not watching the YouTube video, I'm doing like these weird arms like up in the air. That caused a lot of issues with my back, and then it felt like it was a migraine. It was like radiating. So my fave was actually probably, so my daughter's school was done on the Thursday before Christmas. So I'm counting this as obviously Christmas time because we'll make this a tradition from now on. And I was like, let's do Christmas kickoff. She's out of school early. I think we did a gingerbread house that day, and it was freaking hot outside. So we were able to do it outside, not make a mess in the house. It was great. And we did the inflatable mattress, and we popped popcorn, and we got pizza, and we did ice cream sundaes and like all that. And we watched Elf, and then we started Christmas Vacation, but we obviously fell asleep. So that was probably my favorite Christmas thing of the whole time, was just being cozy and freaking chilling. And all four of us. We need to do that
when I come down.
Oh yeah, sure. We can totally do that. It's great.
The girls are always like, movie night. And we're like, yeah. And then we fall asleep like every night. Totally. So we need to like plan it. Like we're going to do the movie night, like the whole thing, like one of the nights. Yeah. Okay, so we'll get into our spoiler-free review, like just one sentence review, star rating, for all three books. That way you guys kind of know what to expect before we go into our deep dive spoiler section.
Yes.
So for book one, Break for Me, I rated this book a 4-star, and it's been a little while since I read it, but I want to say that I rated it like a 3 spice. And I love this book because it was just a really unique plot about basically a dark romance involving a bounty hunter and his bounty. And for that reason, I gave it a 4-star, and because it's very like action-packed. And I loved that about it. Okay, so that is book one.
Okay. Let's ping pong. Okay. So I'll go. All right. That way we can keep it less confusing. Okay. I think. It works either way. All right. So for me, Break for Me, I did 5 stars. And Liz is my spice girl, so 3 spice sounds good to me. And I enjoyed it because of its fast-paced energy. Even though it's contemporary, it was very easy to feel like you're in the world. And I really enjoyed a different take on a bit of a dark romance vibe. Yeah. There you go.
It was unique. It's very unique.
Unique than anything I've read. However, I haven't read a lot of dark romance, so take that with a grain of salt.
I mean, I have, and it still is very unique.
There you go.
Hey.
There you go.
Okay, so book 2, Survive for Me. I rated this book 5 stars, and it's been a while since I've read this particular one, but I'd say, I think the series as a whole, I would rate as like about a 3 spice anyway. So somewhere around there. It does have a couple spicier scenes, so I'm not like one to give it like a 3.5, but like it's not quite a 4 for me. So I would still rate it probably about a 3. I rated this book a 5-star because I felt like it still brought the same things that I liked from book 1 to the table. So it's unique, it's action-packed, it's fast-paced. However, I felt like I loved the character development that started happening in this book in particular. I feel like it just really affected me emotionally. I cried a few times, and that usually will get a book 5 stars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. What about you?
All right. For me, 5 stars, 3 spice, and pretty much the same thing. The character development, loved that. Loved getting to know more characters, too, and some more storyline. So if you liked book 1, keep going to book 2.
I felt like it just got better. Like, it just gets better and better.
Yeah.
That's how
it's like a flower opening up, developing.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Totally. And then the one that we, obviously just celebrated the release of with Ember Nicole on our interview, Live for Me, book 3. So as we mentioned before, the tone of this book is very different from books 1 and 2. It does focus on 2 different characters. And so I rated this book 5 stars, and it was also a very solid 3 spice. In my opinion, it was a little less spicy than books 1 and 2, slightly. And I rated it 5 stars because I feel like one of the hardest things to do in a dark romance or contemporary romance or both is to create characters that are so well written that you get just as invested in their story as you would in like a really good fantasy book. You know what I mean? Because in a fantasy book, you usually have like an epic quest, right? So you get like really attached to those people. I feel like it's harder to do in dark romance because there's typically not, but it was almost like the quest was like their emotional quest. And that is why this book is a 5 stars to me, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
What about you?
Couldn't have said it better myself, quite frankly. This one for me is like a hard 5 star just because I can resonate so much with the characters. So I was more attached to them after reading the 3. This would be like my favorite of the 3.
Oh, I mean, that's a good question right there to ask that I didn't really even think about. I would say out of the 3 books, book 2 so far has been my favorite.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There you go. Book 3 for me. There we go.
So who would you recommend, just before we get into the spoiler section, who would you recommend this series to?
Yeah. Anybody who likes dark romance or fast-paced, action-packed vibes. If you, and I would say this would be a great book for my husband if he ever wanted to start reading, because it did give me like, you know, those action shows that the guys claim don't have any like character development or drama, but it's like that's all it's about.
Or
like
romance.
Gun shows, like in romance.
Yeah.
Like if you want more of that, then you could read that, because it's, you know, you get, it's very like action packed, but you get obviously character development. So anybody that likes, I don't want to say a particular show, because there's not any particular show. It's just the vibes. Like I felt when I was reading it, I was like, oh, this is like if I stepped in to one of my husband's shows, but I wanted to like step into it and actually like read a whole interesting development that was going on. Because there's always like, I forget, there's one specific show where the guy talks like this. You were here and he was watching. Who's the guy who talks like this? His voice is getting like more and more worse as the seasons progress. There's all these like love triangles happening. And there's not necessarily love triangles happening in this, so I don't want to say that. But there's interwoven relationships and stuff going on. Yeah. And the longer that show goes on, the more they're going into it. So if you want that but faster, because it's a book that specifically
and more in depth.
And more in depth. Yeah. Then this would be great for you. I agree. That makes sense.
It's almost like thriller adjacent. Like books 1 and 2 are very like thriller adjacent. So I feel like if that's more of your vibe, like maybe if you read more like thriller books and you enjoy those, but you haven't really delved too much into romance, it might be like a fun transition. If you're thinking about getting into romance, I wouldn't say try this out if you have no interest in romance. Because that's definitely a big part of it. But I do think that, if you're wanting to kind of cross over into that a little bit, then this might be a good segue. And then also, just people who enjoy dark romance. Like, I feel like it still has enough dark elements to keep you interested. But it's very different. So it's nice to kind of
it's not like we've said a couple times, it's not like the traditional dark romance. You're just going into darker themes. So there's triggering stuff, but not necessarily like in the bedroom always, you know what I mean? It's more like triggering emotionally, like trauma and things that have happened to people. That is more so dark. Does that make sense too? Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the whole very like, we've talked about it before. It's like that whole trope of like mutually healing trauma trope. Yeah, it's like that's a very, very big overarching theme. And although book 3 is not as action packed as books 1 and 2, it takes the time to slow down for a second to lay the groundwork for what I'm assuming is gonna be the roller coaster of book 4. So hey, just prep yourself.
It's emotionally charged. So for me, it still felt fast paced because emotions are high.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay. So should we get into our spoiler section?
Yeah. We're getting into our spoiler section. The crows haven't made an appearance for a second, so felt sad for them.
We had
That
to.
means
The
spoilers are
first
coming.
noise of 2025, the crows,
Gotta do it.
as they are. Yeah. I mean, Ashley was voice memoing me the other day, and I could hear them in the background. I'm like, this is kind of scary. Like, do you get freaked out? There's just crows everywhere all the time.
No, but that one that jumped out of the tree while I was voice memoing you
That
kind of
was
freaked
so
me out. And I was like,
funny.
oh, hey, guy.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to break it up into 2 sections. So the first section, we're going to kind of break down books 1 and 2. So why don't you give us a little brief summary?
Great. Here we go. Of both 1 and 2?
Yeah, like you don't have to. It says like literally here when I was mapping this out, a very brief summary. It literally says in capital letters,
First
very
of all,
brief.
I don't do anything brief. And second of all, they all blur together now because I read them like right back to back. But no, I got it. Okay, so book 1, I'll try to keep it brief. Break for me. Girl is on the run forever because she's in hiding. Something happened that she needs to be in hiding and we don't know why. Bounty hunter is trying to get her. We already know she's evaded multiple bounty hunters. So she's, odd jobs, fake IDs, all that. Bounty hunter captures her by tricking her, thinking that it's a date with a hot dude. So she was kind of bummed. So it was kind of sad. But she's very feisty and resourceful, so it escapes him a couple times. So it's funny. It's very, is it cat and mouse, would you say?
Yeah,
like that kind of like,
But like cat and mouse, like, because the cat and mouses, we talked about this a little bit on the interview, are usually like, the mouse doesn't want to, like, it's like, one of the parties wants the situation to be happening.
Yeah, well, the bounty hunter, he just wants to get her so he can get his bounty.
Right,
Like, it's a job.
he doesn't have any personal
He doesn't have any
investment in
feelings. Yeah. And she doesn't necessarily either, but, she thought it was hot, but that's it. Like, her priorities are solid. She needs to get away. So there's no like, I don't know. No, she's like, get away. And he's like, no.
Like, they
come
hate
over
each
here.
other.
Yeah, they hate
enemies.
each other. Well, but, they're starting to break down the barriers at some point, and you spend so much time in a car with somebody and feelings be feeling. So obviously that's what starts growing. She starts figuring out like what he does, and he knows like maybe she might be on the run for something that is justified. So he's kind of having to grapple with his moral compass a little bit instead of just a job. And we end in a blaze of fire. So there is a drop off point, and at that point he's like realizing maybe I shouldn't be dropping her off. He's finding out some backstory on her life, and basically, do we find out in this book 1, that she had murdered her stepbrother?
I think we did. I think it might have happened like at the end.
So right at the end, he finds out she murdered her stepbrother because he had been abusing her for her life, and the dad didn't do anything about it. It's like a mafia situation. So the dad is like the head, the president, they call him, of whatever this organization is. Bad News Bears. And so they capture him while he's like regretting, like takes her out. So she leaves, right? And Memphis is involved. Memphis is his, it's called something. She like communicates through an earpiece to him. I'm like, where? She's like the tech. She's the tech girl.
If you're like watching it like a spy movie, right? You always have like the 007 who's like in the car being crazy and going around and doing all this stuff.
There you go.
Then you have like his person who's like sitting in front of all the computers, typing away and like being like, turn here, and go here, and this is going to blow up, and look around the corner because that's where that guy is. It's like they all have a person like that. And that's how they're able to like so efficiently get this stuff done.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like little teams, but they've never actually met in person.
Yeah.
So we know who they are, but we don't, like, they don't really, like, they know each other, but they've never met in person.
Yeah.
For their own,
and
like,
they
safety,
work for this organization. They just don't know what they're doing. Like, they don't know what this organization does. They were just hired as either the bounty hunter or the earpiece, I'll say. I forget the real word. Like, there's different positions that are, you basically, like, have blinders on. You don't know what you're doing. You're just hired for this. You just do it. no questions asked.
And this becomes kind of important later. They specifically hire people who have very troubled pasts, who are willing to kind of do very morally gray things. And this comes up as being important later on down the line.
Yeah. And they don't have any fall on. So essentially, Jersey is the man. And then the girl is,
Trista.
remind me. What, Trista. Yeah. And so basically, when he goes to drop off Trista, there's an exchange that happens or regret, and then they end up having Jersey at the end. So that's where we kind of end off. We're like, oh no. And then Trista escapes with Memphis.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because he doesn't really, like, he's having a lot of, like, qualms with, like, dropping her off. Because at this point, I think he understands that, like, these are really bad people and she's trying to get away from them. But it's also, I work essentially for her dad.
Yeah.
It's the tangled webs. It's the tangled
webs.
Yeah,
very tangled web they weave. So that was book 1. And then, very brief, right? Book 2, which is Survive for Me, just as the name describes, it's kind of like the first half of the book, I would say, is about the plan to get Jersey back. So Trista and Memphis now are having to become fast friends in the car and drive out to the secret location that Jersey had secured years ago. He has a caretaker named Kyle there who's ex-Marine, just as Jersey is ex-Marine. And they have this compound that's highly secured, and they're able to come together as a group and figure out, okay, how are we going to save Jersey now? We need him to survive for me. But it's crazy. They're sending videos trying to taunt Trista into coming back early and trying to get him. So they have to figure out and formulate a plan. Meanwhile, Jersey is just, holding on by a thread, trying to survive. And then
they're basically torturing him for like
torturing him, but someone starts helping him inside. We later find out that is actually Trista's biological mother who wants, obviously, for her daughter to not have to come back and knows that he's helping. So it comes to a crescendo, if you will, when they bust Jersey. Jersey starts escaping with the mother. He figures out a way and he's starting to escape. Meanwhile, they're about to bust through warehouses or whatever to try to get him. So they all meet up, essentially perfect timing. And
this is when we meet Utah as well.
Yeah,
I mean, that becomes important.
Yeah, because they had kind of not hired him, but like reached out to him because they're figuring out that this organization exactly hires people with trauma and stuff, and not everybody knows what's really going on. So they're reaching out to people they think that might not turn on them either and secure it. So
that's
crazy.
when we meet Utah, who's another bounty hunter, and we meet Indy, who's his earpiece.
We
need to figure out what the word
There's
for
a
that
word
is.
for it, yeah.
Because they're executioners. That's their name, right? The bounty hunters are executioners.
No.
And then, no?
They're different, right? Executioners are, because they're not supposed to kill. There are executioniers, but they're not, I don't think.
Okay, I don't know. There's like terminology.
Because they're not supposed to kill. They're just supposed to take
Capture.
and deliver. Captures. I should have wrote this down.
I know. I'm like, now I'm wondering what it is. Anyways, the point is, this is when we get introduced to these other two characters that become really important for book 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
totally. And then after that, and the rest of book 2 is kind of just now Jersey finding out the horrific circumstances of which he was placed into the organization. His hand was forced because he's ex-Marine. They basically set up they killed the organization, went in and killed his wife and kid and family and made it look like it was a murder-suicide from the wife, because the wife had a history of just depression. So they used that against him, and he didn't know. So he thought he came back from not leave, but where they go away to war.
Yeah.
I forget what the word is. And they, to this horrific situation. So he basically has no one, and he's, he has a lot of skills. And so they take him under their wing and make him a bounty hunter. And so then he finds that out after or during, his time there. Oh, yeah, it was the brother. So Trista's brother was still alive at the time of Jersey. He was the one torturing Jersey and was taunting him with the information. So when Jersey got out, then he's like, oh crap, I have to deal with. So you hear a lot of that trauma about him trying to like grapple with the fact that the way things went down weren't what he thought is this horrific thing. Now feeling conflicted on his feelings towards Trista because they're two separate things. And Trista feeling conflicted, like, oh no, like his wife died in a way that was different than what he thought, you know? So maybe it like reopened all these wounds. So it was really sad. And then we see a little bit of the, go ahead.
It like completely changes like his like self-identity or whatever,
Yeah.
because it's like he thought, I mean, he blamed himself in a lot of ways for not being there. And, you know, thinking that his wife was so, you know, I guess mentally unstable that she would do such a thing when he wasn't around. And then to find out that it was actually just all orchestrated to manipulate him into working for this organization. Yeah, I mean, obviously he was already really messed up.
Yeah.
And so that just further sent him down that rabbit hole for sure.
Yeah. So there's that. And then we were starting to, you know, we see a little bit of the, what's it called? Interactions with the other characters in the house because everybody has to stay there. They have nowhere else to go, obviously. So we're seeing some development with that we're kind of like, what's going on there with Memphis and Utah, especially. So they go through everything that they went through emotionally, Trista and Jersey, and then they land on needing a break, essentially, because they do want to do something about this organization, but the timing is not right. So they go live on an island.
Yeah.
That's kind of how
They're
that
like,
one ends.
Goodbye. Peace out. Yeah.
They leave everybody else at the compound. They said, we'll be back or whatever. And that's what we're going to do.
Yep.
So that's the end of book 2.
Yeah. So it kind of like leaves it on a cliffhanger in the way that there wasn't resolution necessarily with the organization. Yeah. Like, so that's still all going on. That's still very real. There's still a ton of, you know, people out there working for them. But we do have some resolution, at least with, I would say, Jersey and Trista's relationship. Like, we kind of get the impression that they're going to be together. They're happy. Yeah. They're kind of figuring their stuff out. So why don't we just kind of talk about what our favorite and least favorite parts of books 1 and 2 were. But we'll kind of do them, like, together. Like, clump that story into one story.
Yeah. So not book 1. Favorite part. I loved the beginning, you know, like the cat and mouse like situation with like her escaping. Like that was so funny and fun to me, like with her shoes and, you know, hiding stuff. And then he's hiding, you know, things in her shoe, whatever. That part was probably my favorite of the whole book 1 and 2.
Oh, yeah. That's funny. My favorite part that stands out to me is that scene where they're by the pool. I think it's in book 2. And Jersey finally kind of like lets Trista like more so like into his. Yeah. Like just lets her in. You know what I mean? Yeah. This is technically an age gap, which is funny to me because I think Jersey's supposed to be like maybe, I can't remember now, but maybe like mid to late 30s. So for us, that's like young because our husbands are older than that. But, you know, she's like very early 20s, I think. So he's like this older guy who's, you know, very like, I've lived life. I've had a really hard life. I'm grumpy. I'm closed off. I'm angry at the world. And that was kind of like the moment where I feel like he finally let a lot of his walls down. And I really liked that part a lot.
Yeah, that was my other favorite I was trying to decide between. It was a good trauma healing moment, opening it up. Yeah,
totally.
For sure. Letting her in, like, you know, bad and all. And accepting, because that's hard when you're in that state. So it was really good,
especially with like all the information that he's had to absorb over the course of the last, I don't know how long it had been, not that long though, a month or 2, you know. And then what was your least favorite part of books 1 and 2?
That's hard because I had a good time. I can't really pick a least favorite part. I mean, there was like, oh, I hate the bad guys, but I'm supposed to, so you know. Least favorite part, he's getting tortured. I don't love that, but I understand I have to have it in there. You know?
There has to be some kind of conflict. Yeah.
So do you have any that stuck out to you?
I mean, I kind of put a similar thing. My exact words were, there was a lot of crazy stuff that happened. I put finding out what happened with Jersey's wife and kid. That was probably my least favorite part because that was terrible. I was like, I just felt so sad for him. It was just really devastating to like, experience that as a reader. You know, if it's that sad experiencing it as a reader, I'm like, gosh, like, this is why reading fiction can be just as effective in building empathy, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Because
totally.
you can really get into the headspace of these situations that these people are in. And you can step outside yourself and your own perspectives, which I think is important.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's see. What about your like least and most favorite characters?
I mean, least favorite character is Trista's brother, obviously. Again.
Yeah, he sucks.
He's necessary, though.
Yeah.
And my favorite character from books 1 and 2.
I just laughed at what I put Trista's shit fam.
Yeah.
That's what I
in
put.
General. Yeah. There you go.
Just in general. Yeah, okay.
Yes,
Anyway, continue.
Poor girl.
Yeah.
My favorite has to be Trista in books 1 and 2. Love her. She's sassy. I like her.
I really like Trista too, but she wasn't my favorite. Jersey, boy, will go down in history as one of my favorite MMCs of all time, I think.
Nice.
Especially from contemporary romance.
That's a big trophy shelf to fill. I don't know.
Yeah.
Trophy
I mean,
space.
he checks all the boxes.
Yeah.
That's it. You know what I mean?
Grumpy, done.
Yeah.
Sold.
Yeah. It's true. It's really simple.
You got
There's
a type.
only a few tattooed. Yeah.
Yeah. Heavily tattooed.
But yeah, no, he was definitely my favorite character for sure. How would you say that these books left you feeling? Like, how did they make you feel?
Intrigued.
Intrigued.
Awake. High energy. Fast pace.
They are high energy. I blew through these so quick. I was like, dude.
So fast.
I was like, could not rip my eyes from the pages.
I was like, where are you going with that? I can't rip my eyes out of my sockets now. I gotta read this book.
Gotta keep them in for a little longer before I put them to bed at night. Yeah, you know, honestly, like, these books really, like, affected me on, like, a deep emotional level. Like, and that's what I think made them so interesting to me. Yeah. Is that, you know, it's like we're talking about, you know, like, kind of high stakes action movies. Like, I think, like, this reminds me a lot of that show Reacher that me and my husband will watch sometimes. Yeah. Like, it's like that kind of level, but show like that isn't making me feel anything. No. You know? Yeah. It's like, I'm just going to watch it. I'm entertained. And then that's it. You know, it's like, okay. No, it's like literally if you took the action from something like that, but then put so many layers underneath it that like, it's just like ripping your heart out at every turn. That's how it made me feel, but like in a good way. Mm-hmm. You guys know how, if you read, if you're a reader, that's why you're here. Yeah. It's like, that's what you're looking for. Like we want
books to make us feel something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so they were both books 1 and 2. 2 especially was very emotional reads for me. Yeah. So that's how I felt for sure. Yeah. And then after you finished book 2, were there like a lot of unanswered questions that you had before going into book 3?
Honestly, no, not really. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was like, yeah, hopefully that we're going to find out more about the, you know, we'll take down the man. Organization, but otherwise I didn't feel like, oh, great, you know. Yeah. What about you?
I mean, unanswered questions, no, not necessarily, but like I was so attached to Trista and Jersey's relationship that I wanted more. I just wanted more. I was just like, whatever, I can't wait for book 3. It's the same way I feel now where I'm like, when's book 4 coming out? Like, it's just one of those where it comes out and it becomes a priority at the top of my list. It's not like, okay, the sequel comes out and it's going to kind of sit on my shelf for a while until I get around. No, it's like it comes out and I'm like, okay, other things. You're going away so that I could literally find time to read this. So nice. It's like the perfect amount of anticipation for the next book, but not frustration that you didn't get enough information. Yeah. Yeah. And then did you have any notable quotes you wanted to share?
I didn't write any down, so I didn't save any. I just read it, and that's what I do. I'm not an annotator, so I'm pretty bad at that. If you got any, though, please share with the group.
Yeah, I saved my favorite one because I loved this quote so much, and it I put it in my review. It stands out for me. So the quote is, "We definitely," and this is about Jersey and Trista, just to put it in perspective. We definitely didn't fit together like those sappy puzzle metaphors that everybody talked about when it was time for wedding vows. But she'd been more than willing to let all my razor-sharp edges cut right into her until there was no telling where I ended and she began. We weren't even puzzle pieces that had been forced into fitting together because there was absolutely no chance of separating us again. We were broken glass that had been reglazed and fused together to create something new entirely.
Ooh.
And I'm like, what a good quote.
That was great. Yeah.
Because it was just so, like, I love that it took the whole, like, oh, we're two puzzle pieces that just fit so well together. You know what I mean? But, like, took that and, like, made it into something I feel like more realistic.
Yeah.
That's not so, like, hallmarky and, like, just fluffy.
Totally.
You know? So Live for Me summary. So whereas there was a crazy amount of plot points and action going on in books 1 and 2, like Ashley went over, where it's like kidnapping and torture and murder and, you know, all this stuff. No, like book 3 is not about that. Book 3 is about, basically we have, you know, we talked about like the lady looking in front of all the computer screens that like was responsible for essentially like helping Jersey with all of his bounties. So that's Memphis. So she is the female main character from book 3. And then Utah, the guy who helped to rescue him, the other bounty hunter, he is the MMC, and it's about their love story. That's it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. It is about how she's extremely, because of her past, essentially being sold into sex trafficking.
And again, I mean, but like, gosh, it's even more than their love story, because you find it's about character development for this one. So you find out Memphis's deep backstory. This organization. Her sister and her were kidnapped by the organization and put into human trafficking. So now we know that's another layer of this organization is human trafficking. And some of that was new information, obviously, to the other people involved, the bounty hunters and everything in Utah. So we find out, obviously, she has a really horrible past. She was manipulated by the organization into thinking that her parents sold her and her sister. So she never tried looking for them or anything. So sad. And never wondered, was just like, okay, like that is what it is. Wow. Meanwhile, we find out that's not the case, because she found like someone found a missing persons, and she was like, why
like
would they be looking for me? Their parents were looking for her.
I think
and
Indy
her sister.
found it.
Yeah, so sad. And so we find out all of her trauma, and she's obviously very reserved, very closed off, doesn't really want interpersonal relationships with a lot of people. So it's her journey through that. And then Utah, we find out, also was a troubled youth, and then worked with kids with anxiety and was at different homes. And so we find out his journey with that. And it's about, it's a mix of both of their journeys, and then also coming together along to help each other through that journey without being like codependent. It's like a good healthy balance of helping her come out of her own and realizing you're not alone, but like, and what you've experienced is valid and it's not your fault, and growing together into a beautiful flower again. Opening up into a beautiful flower.
Well, it's like really early on we learned that Utah, right? Like his dad was really violent against his mom, right? And ended up
I think he's witnessed
murdering her.
Yeah.
And then so he murdered his father.
Yeah,
and so that's his past that we know of at this point. And so, you know, he's got that quote unquote morally gray personality, but at the same time he kind of doesn't. It's almost like he has processed, whereas so it's like Jersey that we talked about before, he has not processed his trauma. He's going through it actively within those books. He's angry, he is confused, he lashes out. It's different. Utah is almost like the polar opposite, where it's like he has this very traumatic past and he talks about it and we know about it, but it almost seems like he's processed it, he's worked through it, and the way that he continues to help himself is by helping other people.
Yeah.
And so he's just a completely different type of MMC than we got in books 1 and 2. So I feel like for a lot of people, that's nice to have kind of like a very solid you know, kind of like he's like the constant, very solid like rock of the whole story, and Memphis is able to feel safe to stop living so much in her own head and with so much like anxiety and like trepidation about doing anything, because of the fact that he helps her understand her own strength, but then feel safe to just be herself around him too. So I think that that's pretty much what the book is about us finding out about them and about their journey over the course of however long that they're living in this house together and doing research on the organization to try to find other people to help them to take down the organization. So there's not a whole lot of action. Most of it happens literally like in the house or very close by. And it's, you know, him showing her, it's called Live For Me, him showing her that it's safe and okay for her to start living her life. Yeah. You know, not just inside a house, behind a computer, keeping to herself all the time. But she can actually like be a person functioning in the world. Yeah. 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 So, and then, you know, of course, the end of the book ends with a crazy cliffhanger where we're wondering what's going to end up happening. Yeah. I feel like that's why I'm like looking so forward to book 4, because it amped us up for the craziness that's probably going to end up being book 4. Indy obviously gets injured. We have someone raid the house. We don't know if Indy's going to live. Like, oh, and then Jersey and Trista do come back from their island paradise to help out with this endeavor. So that happens too. Yeah, so they did come back. And I don't remember what triggered it exactly, because I know they were trying to get some more people involved, right? And they were trying, and that's risky on its own to get these other, you know, bounty hunter, like active people in the organization that don't know what's going on, but they know they were manipulated, because everybody's pasts were manipulated, you know, and what brought people into the organization was. So. Do you remember though what triggered Jersey? Because there's something specific. I don't remember what triggered Jersey to come back. But, I mean, because they were just kind of going around and trying to find, like, they were finding, Indy would find different people in the organization that they felt would be good, like, a good place to start to be like, hey, just so you know, this is what actually happened in your past. X, Y, and Z didn't happen. The organization manipulated you so that you would go work for them because you have this very specific skill set. And, you know, obviously sometimes that worked out. Sometimes it didn't work out very well. But they came back to kind of help with that. So I can't remember exactly like what triggered that. But yeah, it was like they just wanted to be there. Oh, you know what? I think it was because Memphis missed Jersey or something like that. Like, and she just he's like, oh, we got to go. And then obviously while you're here, well, we'll help out a little bit, you know? Yeah. And then that helps, you know, continue the story on with making it interesting and stuff too. Yeah, Memphis and Jersey have much more of a like older brother or maybe almost like a dad-daughter relationship. Like it's like that protector. Like, he's a protector of her. Yeah, for sure. And so he's like hated Utah since the get, because I think that's part of the reason. But obviously they kind of come to like a truce during this time. But yeah, so I think Memphis was just really struggling. And so he probably saw that when they would text and everything like that. They do have a strangely codependent relationship, I think. Yeah. As they should. They helped each other, I think, through so much, because they would talk a lot when he was on his missions and stuff. And that'll evolve, I'm sure, in future books too. We'll kind of see where that goes. But yeah, we definitely should talk about our favorite parts and least favorite parts. So why don't you start that off? So my favorite part is the crescendo of this book to me, which was... it was very difficult to read through, but also so necessary and very satisfying, was when they went and blew up the house that she was tortured in, essentially, and put into slavery in. So that was having her have to, like, it was so healing, I think, horrible to have to like go in and relive these things and see, because they wanted to make sure it wasn't still in operation and that these kids weren't there, and if there was any signs of anything of where they might have went. So it was abandoned, and they were able to go through it and heal and heal as much as you can. And it ends with them blowing up the house and, you know, having some times nearby to put a new memory there, a good memory.
Yeah. So that was probably my favorite part because it was the pinnacle of, everything they were working towards, their relationship and everything. Yeah.
What about your least favorite part?
That was, that was hard too. I would just say it's only my own thing, but when they are running through the corn maze, when they have these people after them, I was just like, what are you doing? This is so dangerous. So while I know that's probably some people's favorite part is the corn maze, and I'm like, it's good, it's great, that's fine. But I was like yelling at my book. I'm like, come on. They're like, I was just waiting. I thought somebody was going to jump out and take one of the girls because
like
that
tempting
was
fate.
Tempting fate. Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. It was all good. So
It was just all a good time.
yeah, that's just me being a scaredy cat, being like, what are you doing? This is so, because it's like they're in public, like they were at a, like a fall festival, which I loved that they were at. Like,
Yeah,
a
that
fall
was very
festival,
cute.
too. Yeah, good for this time of year also. Vibes. But also, so what about you?
Could have been a jump scare, true.
Yeah.
My favorite part is when Utah goes and saves her books and her toys.
Aw.
Wink, wink, wink. Her toys.
Wink, wink. Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, it was so sweet. Like she had to very quickly abandon the place that she was living before, essentially when at the end of book 2. And so when they all went and evacuated to Jersey's compound. And so, Utah, in getting to know her and having this conversation, just finds out that all of her toys, sad, all of her books got left behind. And so that was my favorite part because that was just like, that's a good man right there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I also put, and when Jersey comes back.
Yeah.
Because I am just like, as much as Utah is amazing and I love his character, like I am, like Jersey's my number one in the series so far. And so whenever he comes back, he just brings like the grumpy old man energy, and that's my vibe. So, and I love that he just talks so much crap to Utah. It's funny to me.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's funny. It's good.
So my least favorite part is at the end, and like, correct me if I'm wrong, if I interpreted this wrong, because we didn't talk about it before, but we find out that Indy played a part in recruiting Memphis to the organization. Like when he's literally like on his like deathbed. We don't know if it's his deathbed, obviously. He probably lives. That was my least favorite part because I really enjoy Indy's character a lot. He's very funny. He's like, we talked about it a lot. He's the comic relief. He is just like the light when everything else is crazy. And I'm like, and so I have a feeling it's probably going to be something like it was out of his control, out of his hands. He didn't know what he was doing when he did it, but there's always the possibility that he did know.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see where that's going. So that's definitely my least favorite part, but also not because it adds a different level of interestingness to the plot.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Yep.
What about characters? Least and most favorite characters?
I love Memphis. I do.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Yeah.
She was my favorite character for sure.
Yeah, I'm ready for book 4. No rush though. And then my least favorite character, there weren't a lot of characters in this one because I also loved Indy. Obviously, the ending makes me have to question it, but I did love him. So least favorite character, because even the people they were trying to recruit, I just thought were badass. Like, cool, good for you. Like,
yeah.
So we don't really talk about we don't really see much of the organization. So I can't pick anybody for that one.
That's what I put too. I actually put like the people we were supposed to dislike. Like those 2 guys that, like Utah kicks the crap out of or whatever. It's like they weren't even like main characters,
of course.
Yeah,
I even forgot about them. Yeah.
But there wasn't really anyone at this point who we have kind of like the idea of the organization off here in, the side, but we weren't dealing with any of them in this book. So I put the same thing as you. Like, we're supposed to dislike the organization as a whole, but there weren't really any individuals of any importance, I felt like, in this book that we were supposed to not like. Exactly. And then, so how did this book leave you feeling? How do you feel right now as we anticipate maybe, waiting another year or so for book 4?
Yeah, I'm ready for the next one. Yeah, it's good. I don't need to read it right now. I get it. Take your time. Do what you need to do. But yeah, I'm ready it'll be good. I thought this book made me feel invested. How about that? Mm-hmm. There's the word of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
What about you?
I felt the same way. I felt like whereas book 1 and 2 like really kind of tore me up emotionally, I feel like book 3 made me feel a little bit more like almost like content feeling. Like I'm excited for book 4 to come out, but I wasn't quite so like emotionally distraught by it.
Yeah.
I think for me, like the relation, not that the content of either book is relatable to me, but I feel like the relationship between Jersey and Tristan in books 1 and 2 is a bit more relatable to me than book 3. And so I feel like for me, I was just kind of a little bit more like I was invested, but I felt good about it. Whereas after book 2, after I was done reading book 2, I was like, this is going to haunt my dreams. You know what I mean? It was like kind of that level. So I'm excited to read book 4, but yeah, I feel content and good about book 3. I really enjoyed it. And I feel like while we do have unanswered questions, it's nothing that's like not supposed to be that way. Like it's supposed to be that way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, agreed.
And then did you have any quotes you want to share? Or do you want me to just go into the quote that I picked?
Go ahead.
Okay, so there were so many quotes, like so many that I highlighted from book 3. I thought that there was a lot of really great ones, so I just picked one because otherwise we were going to be here all day. Like, literally.
Yeah.
So this is Memphis talking about Utah. I was weightless in the world where he ruled. I didn't have to be at the top of my game every second of every day if he was around. Trying to predict every possible outcome before anything happened wasn't necessary. There was suddenly no need to worry who was around, who might be watching. Anyone looking to find me would find themselves face to face with him first. My name was safe with him. My identity was safe with him. My body was safe with him. I was safe with him. I'd never experienced that kind of calm. That kind of security was never even so much as within sight.
Yeah.
And I was like, I feel like that was relatable to me because it's like, I feel like when you find your person, that's how it should feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that I was like, okay, I see that. Because like I run pretty high with anxiety and like fear for the future sometimes and all that kind of stuff. And so it's nice when you can be with someone who can like take some of that off your shoulders for you.
Yeah. Beautiful.
All right. Yeah, I know. A good way to wrap it up. So
yeah.
Should we just wrap up this episode with a smash or pass?
Absolutely. As we do. Let's do it.
Okay.
Smash or pass time. Always unhinged. You want me to go first? You want to go first?
You can go first this time.
All right. I don't think we've done it before. I probably know your answer, but it's one of the polls of the people. People polls.
Okay.
The clown in It.
Oh my gosh. Pass. But the Skarsgard below.
I mean, yeah. Under the makeup, under the wig, under the layers.
That would be a different story.
Yep.
He is below in the gutters. But yeah, the actual clown, absolutely not pass 1,000%.
Okay,
but I'm sure there are some
what if
people
the
out there.
actor Skarsgard is wearing his filming makeup? Like, what if he has to come off set, smash or pass, in that? Just to keep it unhinged for you.
Why would you do something like this?
His head's so big and round. He has to like
Wait, he has
play
like
the
the full
character.
makeup on
His
still?
full thing. Yeah.
No,
His
then
full
still
out- full
pass.
getup.
Then still pass.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I was worried for a second.
Yeah. No, I thought you meant like, you know, he just has like maybe like a little bit of the costume on or something. I
No,
was like,
the
okay, I
whole
can deal
thing.
with that.
His whole
No, the
getup.
whole
He can
thing,
be
absolutely
himself,
not.
but he's in full It.
Yeah, he's not like creepy like voice or whatever, but yeah, no, still no, still pass.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure there's going to be smashes out there though,
Yeah.
for sure.
You know, it's what's on the inside that counts.
Yeah. So
Obviously
I definitely
pass for me. In case that's not clear on
I know.
all accounts.
I was going to say, watch, you're like, actually smash for me. And all of us are like, what just happened? Okay, so mine, smash or pass, we have not done this one before. So animated Tarzan's dad. Can you picture him?
I mean, really? That guy? Is it who I'm thinking of? Let me see.
I have to give Lindsay credit for
I was
this.
thinking of Jane's dad, so hang on. I gotta look him up because I don't remember.
He's kind of a little snack. Not gonna lie.
No. Okay. Oh, smash. See, but look up Jane's dad because that's what I was thinking of, and I'm like, this is really a question on your mind.
I don't remember what
Tarzan's
her dad
dad's a
looks
hard
like.
smash Good
Yeah,
for you.
he's adorbs. He's adorbs.
Better than
Okay,
Tarzan, you know?
dad.
Better than Tarzan. He doesn't have a weird body like Tarzan. Good for you, guy.
Oh.
Good for you, Anna.
Yeah, no, I did not remember that.
It's like the scientist guy.
I did not remember that. That's funny. There's probably some people who are like,
he's adorable.
yeah. But, you know.
Was that a smash for you all? I think so.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tarzan's animated dad. I think he might be like one of the, get close to 100%.
Unsung hero.
Unsung hero. 100%.
Didn't even know what he looked like. Good job.
I'm usually not into the gangly looking ones, but there's just something
He doesn't
about
look
him.
that gangly. If you ask me.
It's true. It's true.
Well,
all right, guys. That was an adventure.
That was.
That was an adventure.
We went car driving.
We went through bounty hunters to burning houses to Tarzan's dad, and here we are.
Here we are. So thank you guys so much for joining us today in this episode. And make sure to like, follow, subscribe anywhere you like to listen to your favorite podcasts. My speech is running out. My batteries are getting low. What did I say? Do it. Just do it. Thanks. Follow, subscribe, all those things. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all the places you like to listen to your favorite podcasts, and also hang out with us. And you too can vote in the Smash or Pass polls when they go up this weekend on Instagram. Yep. So there we go. That's all she wrote. All right, guys.
Thank you so much. And we will see you next Tuesday and sometimes Fridays.
Fridays are soon. Not yet, but soon. So make sure notifications on. Okay. Bye.
Bye.